girls growing up so fast. And things couldn't be better.
What is that?
Okay, let's clear it all out. It's demo day!
We have gotten a sequel to Inside Out, and to be honest, I don't really think it was necessary. Now, besides that, this is still good. Now, this picks up some years after the events of the first film. And we still have the same emotions. We still have joy, sadness, anger, disgust, and fear. We still have them. But then once, I believe it was Riley turns into a teenager, then some new emotions show up, like anxiety and a couple of other ones in there that I can't really remember because they really don't go far into them. But then everything is in jeopardy once the core five then gets sent off and anxiety takes over. And so now it's their job to try to get back. So what I will say about this is when I heard that they were going to do another one, my initial reaction was, well, this is going to be unnecessary because the first movie was so surprisingly good. Like it was actually one of the few animated films that legitimately made me cry. And I'm not really a big, I cry a lot person during movies. So when you actually do make me cry, you immediately get points for that. And yeah, and the fact I expected it to be very one note, and the fact they had so much going on, it was just crazy. And it was like, wow, you immediately get points. And I think Inside Out was one of my favorite animated films from the 2010s, like throughout that whole decade, because of just how surprising it was and the fact it did make me cry. I won't say what made me cry, but it was a certain character, because it was just like, oh, you suck. Like, it punched you in the gut, because you're like, oh man, now you're taking this, you're probably gonna, what are you gonna do with this character? And so when I heard that they were gonna do another one, I was like, I don't think it's necessary. But okay, if you have a good story in there, surprise me. A lot of movies that I think don't need sequels, they do a sequel for. I'm like, wow, that actually surprised me. You actually did a good job at that. So this one, while I don't think it's as good as the first one, like by a landslide, there's still enough in here where I was like, okay, you know what? That was interesting. I liked that. There were some moments in here that were so surprisingly funny, it caught me completely off guard. Like mainly a scene where they go to the vault. And if you've seen the film, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because it was just like, okay, that's actually kind of funny. And they sometimes do like what Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse does, where it's a character has a different animation style depending on the universe they're in, or something more Disney related, Gravity Falls, where it's like almost each like character has, where they'll be in like a certain animation style, and then all of a sudden they'll have a character in there that's just like, whoa, that's a completely different animation style. and it's just so out of place. And it's just like, okay, I guess I'm accepting this, and we're just going for it, and it works. And it does work in here. They barely use it though, so it would have been nice to see a little bit more of that. But they're just like, hey, let's just do it for this and then move on. The story, the writing is not as good as the first one. What I liked about the first movie was that we had two plots going on. The main plot was Joy and Sadness getting back up to headquarters, while the other plot was the rest of them, Fear, Anger, and Disgust. They're like trying to, take, words. They are trying to hold down the fort until they get back, and not doing a very good job at it. So now there's the fear of that. But this one, it's like, okay, you're going to have all 5 together, and it really kind of feels like it's the joy and anxiety show, when all the other ones kind of are scatterbrained a little bit. Mainly they give Sadness a little bit to do, but the other 3, not so much. And they're just kind of there along for the ride. And it would have been nice to have them be a little bit more in there. And especially with the voice acting. I mean, the first movie, it was like Amy Poehler was Joy, Phyllis Smith was Sadness, and Lewis Black as Anger, which that casting alone, right there, Lewis Black as Anger, that is awesome. That was awesome casting. They come back. Unfortunately, Fear, which in the first one was Bill Hader, and in Disgust, it was Mindy Kaling, I think. They do not come back. Instead, it is Tony Hale did Fear, which I think he did a good job. I still miss Hader there, but Hale did a good job. And I can't remember her name, but I honestly think after the events of like what happened with the Velma show, I think Mindy was kind of like getting off track, and certain things were just like, no, we're good. Like we're good. But I think Maya Hawke's voice acting for Anxiety I thought was really good. She really did a good job, and I also like how she's starting to get like little stuff outside of Stranger Things. So that's really cool to see. And I also like how she's the daughter of Ethan Hawke, and she's not using her family name to gain credibility. Like, she's actually finding her own path, which is always a joy to see. So while I think this movie is good, it is nowhere near as good as the first one. It didn't hit me as much as the first one. So like the first one made me cry. This one did not. The first one also, there were a bunch of times that it made me laugh. This one, not as much. So like I said, the writing I wish was a little better, but I understand like the first one was so good. It's always hard to reach that level again. And while I don't think this does that, this is still a very decent animated film. That it looks pretty. They go some new ideas, especially with like the first one, she's a kid, and then in this one, she's a teenager. So they definitely do a lot new creative stuff in there. But, I wish the writing was a little better. So for me, this is around like a high average film, where I'm like, if you told me like, hey, we're going to watch the Inside Out movies, I'm going to be like, I'll watch the first one. And then when it comes to the second one, I'm going to be kind of drifting in and out every once in a while. Because it's just like, okay, like I'll drop in for this scene, and then I'm going to go find food, and then eat my food, and then drop in, and then drop back out once I'm done. So you know, is this the sequel that like everybody was waiting on? Personally, not really. But was it bad? Absolutely not. It was good enough to please the fans of the first one. But, you know, if they do a third one, you know, I wish it was a little bit better writing than this one. So we will see. We shall see.
Orange? Who made the console orange?
Do I look orange?
I didn't touch it.
Orange is not my color.
Not me. Hello? Ah! Oh my gosh, I'm anxiety. Where can I put my stuff?
A new emotion. Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. We wanted to make such a good first impression.
What do you mean we?